Over the last few decades, we've seen a sharp rise in women giving birth to 2, 3, or even more babies at once. Part of this shift comes from demographics, as older mothers naturally release multiple eggs more frequently. But much of it is driven by modern fertility treatments like IVF, where multiple embryos are transferred to increase the odds of a successful pregnancy. The human uterus evolved to gestate and sustain a single fetus at a time. It provides precisely enough space, blood flow, and nutrients for one growing baby to reach full term over 38 weeks. Cramming more occupants into a fixed volume changes the medical math, driving up the likelihood of complications for both the mother and the fetuses. Managing a multiple pregnancy requires balancing these finite resources. When the occupant count rises, the demand on the host's biological system scales at a rate the human body wasn't built to sustain. There are two distinct ways this multiplication begins. In a fraternal or dizygotic pregnancy, the mother releases 2 or more distinct eggs, which are then fertilized by different sperm cells. These fetuses develop with varied genetics, meaning they won't look identical and can be different sexes. Identical multiples form differently. A single sperm fertilizes a single egg, creating a zygote that later splits into distinct embryos. Because they share identical genetics, they are always the same sex. The exact moment of this division dictates how their life support systems, the placentas and sacs, are constructed. That tiny origin point establishes the physical architecture of the fetus's future living arrangements, and those physical boundaries will ultimately determine their odds of survival over the coming months. Fraternal multiples almost always develop with what doctors consider the safest setup. Each fetus grows inside its own independent amniotic sac and draws nutrients from its own independent placenta. This isolated arrangement protects the developing babies, while carrying multiples still increases the mother's risk for preterm labor and high blood pressure. These fetuses are safely walled off from each other. They do not have to fight over the same blood vessels or vascular resources. Identical twins often develop in a shared setup. In a monochorionic arrangement, both fetuses share a single merged placenta. The most dangerous constraint is monoamniotic. Here, they share a placenta and the exact same amniotic sac, risking their umbilical cords becoming fatally tangled. In the cramped quarters of a multiple pregnancy, anatomy dictates outcomes. Sharing biological real estate creates immediate, compounding dangers that singletons simply do not face. When fetuses share a placenta, they can develop twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome, or TTTS. Abnormal blood vessel connections form within the shared placenta, siphoning blood and nutrients away from one fetus and pumping them directly into the other. The stakes in this unequal distribution are absolute. Without highly specialized in utero surgical intervention to sever those connecting vessels, there is a 90% probability that both fetuses will die before birth. Even if TTTS doesn't develop, a shared blood supply can lead to twin anemia polycythemia sequence. Red blood cells are distributed unevenly, leaving one twin severely anemic, while the other's blood becomes dangerously thick. Across all these scenarios, the most common result is fetal growth restriction. Nearly half of all multiple pregnancies experience a severe bottleneck where one or more fetuses physically cannot grow at the required rate due to the severe lack of space and nutrition. A shared placenta turns the normally stable, nurturing environment of the womb into a precarious, zero-sum competition for survival. Supporting this biological competition requires an enormous physiological effort from the mother. The rapid spike in HCG pregnancy hormones often triggers severe, debilitating morning sickness that far exceeds the symptoms of a typical singleton pregnancy. The nutritional math is also precise and demanding. A mother must consume an extra 300 calories a day for every single fetus she is carrying. For twins, that means adding 600 highly nutritious calories just to sustain basic development. This ultrasound machine display shows how doctors manage these high-wire pregnancies. High-frequency scans were used constantly to track growth, evaluate cramped fetal positions, and check the velocity of blood flowing through those vulnerable, shared umbilical connections. The ultimate goal is beating the gestation clock. While a singleton pregnancy averages 38 weeks, twins typically run out of space by week 36. For triplets, the uterus hits absolute maximum capacity at just 32 weeks. Safely reaching these abbreviated full-term milestones requires immense maternal endurance, combined with proactive, vigilant medical tracking to catch complications before they escalate. Because space is so tight, multiples are rarely in the correct head-down position for birth. This spatial limit, combined with the escalating health risks to the mother, results in a highly elevated rate of cesarean section deliveries. Preterm delivery means multiples frequently arrive with low birth weights and underdeveloped lungs. Immediate stabilization in a neonatal intensive care unit is an absolute necessity, providing the external life support they didn't have time to finish building inside the womb. Historically, keeping high-order multiples alive was virtually impossible. When the identical Diane quintuplets were born in Canada in 1934, they became the very first known set to survive infancy. While higher-order births were once statistical anomalies, the survival of twins, triplets, and beyond is now a predictable outcome. It's the result of clinical protocols designed to account for every extra occupant and every missing week of development.